You were born in 1923 in Singapore, small British colony torn by poverty and divided by race. You grew up in Chinese family influenced by both Confucian values and British colonial culture, a blend that later defined your strict but pragmatic worldview. You studied at Raffles Institution and Raffles College, among the most prestigious schools in the colony. After the war, you left for Britain to the London School of Economics and later Cambridge University, where you graduated with first-class honors in law. Those years taught you the logic of Western democracy, but also convinced you that order and discipline must come before freedom. When you returned to Singapore, the island was struggling, poor, polluted, and leaderless. You founded the People's Action Party, united a divided society, and in 1959 became Singapore's first prime minister. Over the next 3 decades, you turned a swamp into a modern global hub, transforming Singapore into one of the world's safest, cleanest, and most prosperous nations. You are remembered as the father of Singapore, a visionary who proved that one determined leader could build a nation from nothing. So, Mr. Lee, history calls you both a creator and a dictator. So today we will judge you.
Judgment? For what? I've served my people my entire life.
Indeed, you did. You changed a small, poor island into one of the richest nations on earth. But your leadership was both admired and feared. To decide where you will go, to hell or heaven, we need to recall your whole life. Before that, let's look at what people will say about you. But you know that your story is more than politics. It's about leadership itself.
Despite all unethical practices and strict political control, Lee Kuan Yew demonstrated that with his combination of transformational and managerial leadership, it is still possible to achieve results effectively. Therefore, he guided Singapore through difficult periods of instability and transformed it into one of the most prosperous and well-governed nations in the world. So even here, I'm still being analyzed.
Let me ask you one question. What is your definition of leadership?
A leadership is about taking responsibility, not seeking popularity. A leader must have a clear vision, the courage to make tough decisions, and the discipline to see them through. It's not about pleasing everyone. It's about doing what is necessary and what is needed for the long-term outcomes for your people and your nation.
Your leadership definition partially aligns with our group definition. Our definition of leadership means guiding and inspiring people toward a common goal while managing resources effectively. A good leader motivates others through vision, stays organized and practical, and most importantly, serves the needs of their people with honesty and care.
Wait, could you please give some words about Lee Kuan Yew?
Of course. When we talk about great leaders, we often think of power, ambition, or authority. But for me, true greatness lies in purpose, in using power to serve your nation. Lee Kuan Yew was such a person. He was more than a statesman. He was a builder of people, a man whose love for his country shaped every decision he made. His leadership was tough, but behind that firmness was deep care and belief what Singapore could become. I rose from modest beginnings to become a prime minister through the very meritocratic system that Lee Kuan Yew built. My journey was possible only because of his vision. Today, I want to share what his leadership was so powerful and why it continues to shape lives like mine. Lee's leadership was special. It balanced strength with compassion. To Lee Kuan Yew, kindness and the harshness were not opposites, but worked together. Without a strict parent, the goal cannot be achieved, but without a mercy, a demanding parent turned into a tyrant. He was tough, but always for a reason. He pushed people to their best because he believed in their potential. He cared deeply about Singapore, but he never let comfort replace the effort. Transformational leaders described as those who look for ways to change the status quo and take risks. That was Lee. He questioned everything, always asking, does this work for Singapore? The simple question built a nation. Lee made decisions based on logic and results, not emotions. His leadership was based on what works, not what is demanded. He cared about progress, not popularity. He once said, "Weak leaders rely on polls. I have never been over-concerned with opinion polls or popularity. When you have a popular democracy, you promise to give more away, a never-ending process of auctions." Those words still inspire me. I succeeded in a system where skill mattered more than background, where you were judged by what you could do, not where you came from. That was Lee's Singapore. Lee didn't just build a country, he built people. They personally led Singapore economic and social development. He also focused on training future leaders. He was called a firm yet caring father of the nation. He didn't want blind praise. He wanted people to understand his goals and share his responsibility. For me, as someone from humble beginnings, his system gave me the chance to rise because not of who I knew, but because of what I worked for. Lee's leadership reflected many theories. Transformational leadership inspired unity and hard work. Behavioral leadership, leading by example with discipline and dedication. Contingency leadership, adapting his style to Singapore needs. Under Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore changed from small, struggling colony into one of the most successful nations in the world. But his real legacy isn't just in tall buildings or wealth, it's in people. Ordinary citizens were given a chance to dream, to work hard and succeed. For me, this legacy is personal. I am proof that his system worked, that with effort anyone could rise. Lee's leadership was powerful because it came from both mind and the heart, from vision with discipline and discipline with care. He showed us that leadership is not about being popular, it is about having purpose. He proved that with courage, hard work and integrity, even small nation and the humblest person can achieve extraordinary things.
Thank you. Where am I? Who are you?
Now you're under arrest, and everything that you will say will be used against you. Okay, tell me about your first meetings with Lee. Who was this man?
He was brilliant and disciplined. Lee had studied at Cambridge University, where he earned first-class honors in law. According to his memoir, The Singapore Story, the education taught him the strictness of logical argument and evidence-based reasoning. But here's what mattered. He didn't become a Western idealist. He studied in Britain, but refused to accept Western ideology blindly.
So, he was willing to make unpopular decisions?
Absolutely. That's what made him effective, but also complicated. When he took power, corruption was everywhere in Singapore. Everyone except business as usual. But Lee created the CPIB, the Corrupt Practice Investigation Bureau. In his 2000 speech to the Chamber of Commerce, he said, "Fighting corruption is never a one-off exercise, and that the government cannot afford hypocrisy."
And did he practice what he preached?
In most ways, I'd say yes. I saw him turn down lucrative offers, live modestly, maintain discipline. According to Barr, Lee's personal exemplification of integrity was inseparable from his ability to enforce anti-corruption policies effectively. He was not a hypocrite about corruption. They gave him legitimacy. He meditated every day, every night, and exercised daily, cycling, rowing, jogging, even into his 18s. That discipline was real.
Then what went wrong? Why are we investigating him?
Because no leader is entirely consistent. In 1996, Lee and his son purchased luxury apartments at discount rates through Hotel Properties Limited. When critics raised questions about fairness, an investigation cleared them legally. But investigators, the optics, the appearance of privilege contradicted everything he demanded of others.
So you are saying that he held others to standards he didn't fully apply to himself?
I'd say it's more nuanced than that. According to Choi, Lee believed in what he called the balance of stick but no carrot. The paternal control combining kindness and harshness is not mutually exclusive, but complementary. He saw himself as a parent, and sometimes parents make exceptions for their families.
Okay, how did he treat opposition to his decisions?
Firmly, I'd say. He believed that economic growth must come before liberal democracy. If press freedom or political opposition threatened stability, he controlled them. He saw dissent not as democratic dialogue, but as threat. That's the authoritarian element. Choi notes his leadership combined transformational vision with strong authoritarian control, making it a hybrid style.
And did he ever show doubt about these decisions?
Once, in 1965, when Singapore separated from Malaysia, according to the National Library Board, Lee engaged in arduous and grueling negotiations with Malaysian and British leaders. When he announced independence, Young documents that Lee broke down in tears, combining his rational pragmatism with visible emotion. That moment showed the human cost of his decisions. He genuinely suffered.
So, was he a good leader or a dangerous one?
Both. I like to say both. Young, his personal assistant for 21 years, recalled Lee saying, "If you commit, you deliver." He lived that commitment. Singapore transformed because Lee's methods, however controversial, delivered results. But investigator, you ask if these methods were ethical. According to Barr, Lee justified authoritarianism and suppression of democratic freedoms using utilitarian reasoning. The need of many outweighed the freedom of individuals. The 1996 apartment scandal, the press restrictions, the suppression of political opponents, those weren't accidents. They were deliberate choices. Were they necessary for Singapore's survival? Perhaps. Were they ethical by democratic standards? No. But Lee believed results mattered more than methods.
And one last question. If you could speak to Lee now, what would you tell him?
Lee, that he built something extraordinary, but that extraordinary results don't erase ethical contradictions. They just make them harder to judge.
So, Mr. Lee, do you see what people say about you? You were a leader of exceptional ability, achieving remarkable results using methods that were both ethically principled and ethical problematic. Singapore prospered thanks to your meritocracy and anti-corruptional stance. Democratic freedom in Singapore were curtailed by your authoritarian control. Both statements are true. History will judge whether his achievements justified his methods or whether the price was too high. Verdict is conditional vindication with moral reservation.
Great story. Lee Kuan Yew proved that good leadership requires not just good intentions. It requires more pragmatism, discipline, long-term vision, and so on. And he proved that not every time good leadership, effective leadership aligns with ethical decisions. So, a leader can achieve remarkable results through unethical decisions, violate democratic process, freedom, and individual rights. And what you take from Lee Kuan Yew's story, it depends on you. What you believe in, freedom, individual rights, or maybe effectiveness. So there is no simple answers. Understanding Lee Kuan Yew's story means facing with ambiguity and complexity. And that is the mark of a sophisticated leadership style.